Everything's in working order, and I believe just triple check that that's running. Yes, it is. Okay. Thanks for subscribing to the Substack. This is another episode of Readings at the Barrow. Following on from our latest episode, I have got, you know what's really nice? What's perfect?
What?
In my usual fastidious fashion,
There's something perfect.
the chapters align perfectly with the episodes.
Of course they do.
I know, but I really thought they wouldn't fully, and yet they have
They
been.
do.
Which, you know, I appreciate myself.
You applaud yourself.
I do. Yeah.
Terrific.
Yay! All right. So new episode, new reading. I mean.
Yep.
Thanks for subscribing. Here we go. Religion is passed on.
I'm just looking at chapter religion.
Boy, oh boy. Now, as always, you are allowed to talk
Yes.
throughout these readings and
But
hopefully
not-
generate a little bit of discussion. Although today might be a little on the shorter side because I am, to be perfectly honest, keen to go. But here we go. Religion is passed on from my father's side. He comes from an Irish Catholic family, but by the time I am attending the convent, my family has lapsed, only attending church at Easter and Christmas. Excuse me. This suits my mother, whose engagement with the church was only ever a way to marry my father.
It suits.
This
Yes.
suits my mother.
Yes.
What was your
No,
problem?
I just got lost there. Lost with my own.
Look,
thinking.
I've got to be honest, these chapters, or this piece, is the one I've been least confident with so far.
Oh,
like,
okay.
there's some aspects to it that I intend to change.
Just too descriptive, too
No, I just
detailed.
I just don't like the way. I'm unsure about how it comes together, and I'm unsure about the placement. But I'm
Okay.
going to read it anyway, obviously. But I do think this will change a bit. You go on. I am 11 years old when I begin attending Sunday Mass on my own. I wake at 6 o'clock when it's still dark and quiet. Nobody at home is up. So I put on my coat and gloves and beret and scarf and cross the road outside. Not your orange suit, not your orange costume. Then follow the same route to the local parish a few streets away. I walk down to the railway line near the big railway bridge, then along the gravel path and up to the footbridge that takes me over and delivers me directly to the back of the churchyard. It is light by the time I arrive, the sun on the church windows brightening the stained glass. I always take the main door to enter, because that way I get to see the whole church when I walk in, the pews either side of the aisle and the altar, flanked by the grand statues of Mary and Jesus. I always choose the same seat too, right up the back and on the left beneath the choir stalls. I'm too self-conscious to sit closer to the altar, and I'm too self-conscious to join the queue for the Eucharist. I like attending Mass, but I do not like how nervous I become. I always have this ongoing fight with myself about getting up for communion and participating more actively in the ritual, but I can never seem to do it. When it's time for communion, I just watch all the other people get up. I want to be like them, but mostly I do not. In fact, I cannot. I am rooted in place. As soon as I commence attending Mass on my own, I notice this other thing that always seems to happen. I get inside the church and find my seat, and then I look around and see the enormous families everywhere, and I become distressed. There seems to be some rule that Catholics have to have 15,000 babies, but I'm wary of this. it makes me feel queasy and funny inside. I can't explain it much better than that. I suppose it's just that I don't understand it or something. And so when I go to Mass and witness it, I feel uncomfortable. But it's more than this too, I suspect. The big families disturb me, and I even feel sometimes as if I resent them.
I just don't identify with them, but there's more than that. There's almost an anger.
Really?
That this is not how it's meant to be. You're not meant to have a house full of children.
Why?
Now, why do I get that? Do I get that from my own mother's resentment of having children? I'm already making a judgment at that early age about there's something not right about bearing so many children.
Really? That's interesting. It's like a visceral reaction to it.
Yes. Were there criticisms at home? Probably. I mean, my mother is the master or the mistress of criticism, so there's probably that kind of chatter going on about, and it's such a cliche about Catholics.
Yeah.
And it was a cliche even in those days.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah, but in my reaction is already the seeds of, oh, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to bear children.
That's interesting. It's interesting, you know, I mean, we will go on to talk about your relationship with your body, becomes a big theme for us. But like, yeah, that's interesting that that's so clear to you as something that you find off-putting.
Yes.
Child rearing.
Yeah.
Being pregnant probably as well. Or
Yeah.
is it's more just the families that
It's
is it rooted in pregnancy, like the female body? Yeah.
That's an interesting point. No, it's rooted in a judgment that you just don't do that. You need to give a lot of your time to few children, not fill your house.
I see.
Well, it's some kind of moral judgment.
That's your mother. That sounds exactly like your mother.
That's right.
That has to have been something that you were listening to at home because she had trouble having children, I think. And so it would make sense then that she would kind of attack people for whom the physical side of it's been easier. So she's making up for it with the attention she gives.
Yeah, true. But my understanding is she wasn't looking to have children.
Oh, she doesn't have any maternal.
No, so there's no maternal instinct there that it's not thought of as natural to have children and have a family.
Yeah, I get the sense that might explain some of the problems.
And then, of course, when they, and this is me just talking off the top of my head, I don't really know the full details, but when they did try, there was some difficulty, and then suddenly she was pregnant with me at not quite a convenient time in their life.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just strange. Like, so I actually made a note on this. I said, because you're right, I'm not part of this either, both apart and apart. Like, a part of and apart from.
Yeah.
I know I do not want that for myself, and yet I feel apart from it too, right? And then I've written, both apart and apart, like a space part and one word apart. With regard to underline section, which is, I know I do not want that for myself, it's hard to believe she, that's you, doesn't want this at 11 stroke, is making decisions about becoming a mother so young.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that she has an inkling she isn't like other girls who become women and mothers, or perhaps she can't explain this discomfort. She just knows it's somehow connected to her body as a girl stroke female, beginning the awkwardness of her body and the connection between this body's sex and religion, question mark. I wasn't sure. I just made a note.
What
I had no
you
idea.
weren't sure about. Yeah. And I don't know whether I'm, implanting something or overlaying something now when I look back. But I know I was fairly vocal and almost got me into a little bit of trouble at school later when I'm an adolescent.
So even though I go to Mass, I'm still all twisted up inside, like always. Why do I even notice these things? Why can't I just be at church? But the communion thing gets to me most. I feel like I'm not doing things right, as if I'm almost all the way there, but not quite. Every time I attend Mass, I experience failure, like not fully fitting in.
Yeah, but I think also in this episode is the seeds of that, which I often describe as looking at life through the glass. Life is happening out there.
On the other side of the glass.
On the other side of the glass. And those families are on the other side of the glass. They're not my family experience for a start. I don't live in a house full of children.
But it's so weird. It's like because you always do this thing where you attach to things, like the church in this case, and yet you almost start creating like a mutiny within the thing you've attached to. So like you go towards Catholicism and then you find all these big families and you go, well, I'm Catholic, but I'm not like that. And you do it in all these other ways where you go, oh, I really like this thing, but I'm not like anyone else who likes it. And it's sort of like you're claiming territory but creating distance at the same time, like separating yourself within the thing you've claimed. And it's this constant thing. That's how I always found your mother. I found your mother infuriating. She would cling on to things and claim things, but then she would beaver away ferociously at creating a distance from herself and everybody else in the same space.
That's
I would go, either join or just don't. Like, what are you?
But there's also a sense of hypocrisy there, because I end up being the very good Catholic in terms of ritual, but not in terms of other things, if it doesn't suit my position on other things.
Yeah.
So you go.
It's not... I can't figure you out. I can't figure you and your parents out at times. It's just inane at times. Like, why bother? Why have an opinion? Why vocalize an allegiance to everything and then knock like
only pluck the things that you want out of it?
It's just very sort of habitually discontent people, habitually
at odds with others.
Yeah. And I kind of like... Yep. It drives me fucking crazy. Like, are you for or against? Are you into it or not? And if you're not, leave it alone. If you are, then...
Or just don't make a big song and dance about any of it.
And I think that this is why I'm struggling with this chapter. There's so many I still have questions.
It doesn't get it quite right for you?
I don't know. I mean, maybe not. But you go on to note it yourself, and look, I don't know in terms of posting this. I'm not sure whether I will post something that's... I don't care one way or another, something that's incomplete. But this is probably not the most rewarding reading experience, because it's sort of not formed. This is a chapter where I'm really going to have to come back after the whole manuscript is finished and really kind of think about, do we include it? Maybe it gets broken up and dispersed across a number.
Yes.
I'm totally sure.
Yeah, sure. I think the main point of that when I was writing it was trying to portray this good little girl again.
Yeah, okay. My father, but you write these weird things. You say, my father has abandoned me here. He no longer goes to Mass. All my mother has for the church is contempt. It's fussy rules, and she's the one who lampoons these large Catholic families. She's the one who draws my attention to them. She's lampooned her husband's sister, my aunt, for conforming. Church is just another isolating experience in my life that sets me apart and keeps me in turmoil. But why do I shoulder this alone? You know...
She's also the one that says, well, God, where is the God in the starving people and wars and horrible things?
Yeah.
She's always making those grand comments.
All right, look, this is... I'm trying to think where you've got some concrete finished pieces in this chapter. There seem to be, I told you to just address this head on. There seem to be few sufficient answers to explain what causes my behaviour and my thoughts. My son, for instance, will not stop badgering me about my past. He wants to know why his mother became so religious. He sees it as the first in a series of poor choices. I don't know what to tell him except that I never felt at ease, that I always felt trapped inside myself. My son is helping me write this book. He was once a writing tutor at university before he had a nervous breakdown and was no longer able to work. I suppose this book is an attempt to explain, or at least to understand the things that came before his life got so difficult and why it was his mother couldn't see what was happening to him. Because I now understand that we share this in common, this experience of being trapped inside ourselves, of never feeling at ease. But while I am determined to write this book, I am not enjoying writing this book. I worry it will only raise more questions than answers. I can't explain just how confronting it is. I sit here writing this and I feel like I do not belong, but I've never known where I belong, and it's as if all my life I've just been going through the motions, and as my son has said, like I have been acting out roles. For me, I look at the world like I am not in it. I do not understand it. I do not get it. I am simply just not in it. Everything in my life has been a prop, I realise. My marriage, the shelter my parents provided, how I never moved on or away, and now it's just an overwhelming feeling of, my God, how did it ever happen this way? How did it evolve? In part, I blame my parents for not seeing who I was, for sheltering me, for not providing what ought to have been provided all along, given my problems. But then that was their stuff. They did not belong to the world either. My parents, in fact, ensured that we too didn't belong to the world. They enveloped me emotionally, physically. There was never any agency, no realization that there were other things there were other ways of doing things. The enmeshment compounded. And then you just sort of... And these are notes, really.
Yeah.
They were ill-equipped to parent, which meant I was ill-equipped, and my son grew up with no family, not present in their minds, just wearing machines that got bogged down with the minutiae of life. No wonder he and I are here now. We are writing this in part to come to grips with the effect of the life lived, a life determined by my mother and father, two individuals with serious problems in making connections with the world. And I suppose that that's really... what I found interesting about, like, trying to encourage you to write about religion, which continues to be this sort of issue. It's not really coming together. I don't know. But the point is that I feel as if the thing that emerges with religion is kind of more disconnection. Is like, there isn't a satisfactory answer that I'm constantly pursuing.
And I've never been able to explain it properly, because I was going to say at the same time that I'm describing this physical disconnection, there is also a comfort. I find a comfort in being at church. I find, I talk about faith. Like, I do believe that there is a God, and that's the being I talk to. That's the being, you know, that calms me down, that gives me something. That's the only way I can describe it now. So
you mean that used to calm you down? That
yes,
that
yes.
used to, yeah. See, well,
find solace in
but
something.
To me, that's the core issue with all of this is that you were someone who needed to be calmed down.
Yes,
Like what does that mean? And this is how, I mean, these kind of misalignments or maladjustments are bred because there's a need for something, but then it's being attached to not the wrong thing, but maybe not the best thing.
I understand what you're saying, yes. And then it's sort of like a false feeling of comfort.
Yeah, I mean, like, to put it really bluntly, I think you needed some psychiatric intervention, not God, not religion. No, I mean that. I mean, you needed therapy. You didn't need church, and why that is, I don't know. But to be motivated enough to be actively seeking something, speaks to me to a problem, to a need,
to a condition,
and that's what I've always been trying to locate. It's like, well, what's the need? What's the problem?
Yeah.
And maybe that's just kind of just how I'm wired, like needing some kind of answer, and it's not that straightforward.
No.
But
and that's why I've never been able to explain it properly.
Yeah.
Or sufficiently.
Yeah, I don't know, the religion aspect to all of this muddies everything to me, because it like, it has nothing to do with religion, in my opinion. None of it.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, that's my view, that's my take on it. And I kind of just wish religion wasn't there as an option, because it fills a space, it fills a void.
It becomes another prop.
It crowds something that you can no longer see the whole, you can no longer see the problem, because it's filled it, but the problem's behind it.
Yep, sure.
If that makes sense.
Sure.
So I find it really frustrating, because I'm like, if that wasn't there, things would be clearer.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how I felt always growing up. I'm like, I don't think religion is...
No, and you've never taken an anti-religion stance. No. You're just trying to get to the bottom of...
the family. I mean, it's...
what makes me tick as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My experience of you is... yeah, my experience of my family and my experience of you, and what that has all been about. I mean, I don't... It's funny, because religion plays such a big part, and yet I don't feel like religion is part of the story at all.
No.
That's what's always bothered me. I'm like, these people have no relationship with religion, in my view. Yeah. You do, to a certain extent. Yeah. You do more authentically than anyone else, but I'm sort of like... And I think that this is why this chapter isn't coming together, is because it's actually not there. It isn't really that important.
No, well, I think when I'm writing that, I'm not getting to the bottom of it. I'm just writing about ritual and about customs and about behaviour. Like, I'm not getting to why.
Yeah. And that's right. I really think that, the writing process reveals things. And one of the things it can reveal is kind of what it what it doesn't reveal, I guess, is that like, I thought there was a chapter on religion. I thought it was really important. And it is important to contextualize, to show like a little girl going off and that kind of thing, because it shows your behavior. But I'm like, apart from that, religion's not relevant, really.
No.
There is nothing to really say about it. But that's my frustration, is that it is irrelevant, and yet it became this like cornerstone of the family values and all sorts of things.
Yeah, but you're more interested in what's at the heart of what makes a little girl, or at one point, whatever age, get on a tram
Or
walk and go all the way to a church on their own.
Yeah. And to me...
What is at the nub of that?
Yeah, and the answer is nothing to do with religion.
No.
That's my point.
Yes, I get that.
Yeah. That was just going to be a short one, partly because this chapter is sort of like, it hasn't taken shape.
No.
And it's kind of interesting that it hasn't, and hopefully this pairs with the discussion that we had in the episode the other day, but hopefully you get something out of it. I'm in two minds about whether I'll post this work. I might not. Maybe I'll post something else, but we'll see. We'll see how I feel. But it is interesting that this hasn't come together. Like the other chapters have. They've been easy to shape, and then this one I'm sort of like, there is something there, it's so important, and then I'm like, is it? I don't know. Like,
sure.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you later. Bye.